Hello, everyone! Welcome back to Charmed Rewind! We're back in Season 6!
Yay.
Yay! I think it wasn't the last one we did, it was the mirror one that was pretty shortly after this one, wasn't it? Yeah. But we get to see the lead up to this stuff now.
Really building on that story, except they don't really.
No. Well, we are in Season 6, Episode 18, Spin City!
I was looking forward to seeing Michael J. Fox, but this was more like a Charlie Sheen episode.
I wanted a Wyatt episode, but instead we got a Chris one. This is otherwise known as the one where Chris turns into Spider-Man.
Yeah. They don't really do anything like... There's no double meaning with Spin City. It's just like a spider, I guess. That's the whole spin.
I guess they're in...
Spinning webs.
They're in a city.
Sure.
And there's some webs.
Yeah.
And the show tries to spin some plots into thinking they're important, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in the middle of the Chris has traveled from the future to prevent Wyatt from becoming evil. Now,
but really into his daddy issues arc.
Yeah, he's got daddy issues. Leo is currently abandoned his family to be an elder because of Chris, I might add, which kind of changes some context of this episode. So he's abandoned them, and he's off in Elderland. And
it's so funny. You should abandon your family, and then it's like, I have issues with you for abandoning me.
It's like, I don't know what Chris, you could have prevented all of this if you just hadn't done this.
You weren't there for me because I told you not to be there for me. Ah!
So yeah, they know that he's Piper's son from the future. She's pregnant with him, and meanwhile, Gideon at magic school is plotting to kill Wyatt or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
I think that's all the
turn
plot
him
things
evil.
going on. Oh, right. There's also Phoebe had that vision where at magic school she was pregnant, and Paige was the head of magic school and all this other stuff. So Phoebe's on her baby kick where she's got to find her baby daddy and make this vision happen or whatever the fuck.
The 5th time this plot's happened.
Yeah, so pretty cool. I think that covers all the major things. Ready to jump in?
Yeah.
All right, so we open with Chris. Cool Chris. Surprise, he's gloomy.
Yeah. He's like, watch the Chris Show spin-off coming soon.
Yeah, the Chris and Wyatt show coming any day now. He's playing with some tarot cards. He turns one over. It says the Judgment card. They act like this is really meaningful, but it's not.
No.
It just means he's judgy in this episode? Is that what that means? I don't know.
It turns out another one over. It says the Joker, and it's his face. He's like,
Ah!
We find out later he got these tarot cards from Phoebe because she's dressed like a fortune teller for her date later.
It's the only thing that makes it make sense. That's the headcanon. So he's at P3, where I believe he lives, because they showed he had like a room there.
Yeah.
So I guess he just lives at P3.
Apparently.
They don't let him stay in the manor. There's a million rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, no, we
deal
had
with
to have
Dennis the Menace coming in, be like, I work here.
Right, yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, this guy comes in and like he turns the lights on, and then like he's like, Dennis, what are you doing here? And he's like, I work here, remember? That's for the audience. Who the fuck is Dennis?
Yeah. Classic character Dennis.
We get to see more people who work at P3 who aren't the sisters in this episode than I think any other one, because we also meet a guy named Jeremy. But apparently we meet 2 people who work there, but no one who can run the place without Piper.
No.
The sisters have to do it.
She would never
Surely,
hire a manager. That would make too much sense.
Yeah, why wouldn't she have anyone else in case anything happened where she couldn't? There's been other instances where she can't run the club. It can't be shut down every time that happens.
A large period of the show where they just don't bother worrying about the club, so you have to assume there's a manager there because they go back to it eventually. But...
I feel like during the like Leo, Neighbor, Dan, Piper story arc, like at least one of them was a manager. Like maybe Leo was her manager or something. Like maybe she just lost all her managers because she keeps hiring family and then they do other magical stuff.
Or just letting her future family live in the bar.
You think Dennis was supposed to be Jeremy, and then they were like, we didn't get him back, so here's Jeremy later. I don't know why they have two guys here. Yeah. But anyway, Dennis is there. He says he's setting up for the band at Piper's request, so she could ask Dennis to do stuff. Maybe that's why he got written out, because they're like, oh, Dennis can do things when Piper can't. Mm-hmm. Just kidding. Dennis is dead? I don't know. Yeah, he could set up for the band without her there, so why didn't they ask Dennis later? Mm. Their lives are at stake, and they don't think of Dennis.
Because they don't have time.
Dennis is the heart of the team.
Dennis. I just don't have time to call Dennis right now. I have to go do it myself. Ugh. Well, they're like the whiners, like the annoying SNL sketch. That's the sisters in this show. Constantly. I'm gonna do this right now. I'm on a lunch break.
I was thinking of the whiners with Chris later in the episode. Where he's just like, why did a force field
just like every time it's like, well, I have to get this over with because I have to go on another date. I need to find my magic man who will give me babies.
Anyway, who fucking cares? Here's what Dennis is really here for. He's nosy. He's like, hey, what's the deal with Piper and Leo? Huh? He's like, oh, Leo leaves his family after knocking her up. Oh, she deserves better.
He really sucks, doesn't he, Chris? Yeah, he does.
He does suck. And then he looks at the judgment card again, like, get it? Judgment.
And then crumples it. That's it.
That's it. So that's the end of that scene, and Dennis as a character. Bye.
We see Dennis walking towards a cliff, and that's the last we see of him.
Maybe that witch in that subplot murdered him. They didn't get to that. They didn't mention that part. But anyway, Piper isn't there because she's currently at a checkup for baby Chris, who she's still pregnant with. She's about 6 or 7 months along, somewhere around there. So she's at the doctor's office. She's just completed this checkup, and she has frozen everyone because too many moms-to-be were annoying her and touching her stomach. Mm-hmm. That was reason enough to freeze everyone with her powers.
She almost knocks a pregnant lady over, and Paige has to save her.
Yeah, like Paige is like, how about you don't freeze everyone? Like, what's everyone going to think when you unfreeze them? Mm-hmm. And like, who fucking cares?
It was like one of the few good moments for Paige. She's written pretty bad through a lot of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Paige is pretty awful in this one.
Yeah.
It's because they need someone to side with Piper, who's being pretty terrible, too. Mm-hmm. So...
But this is the, I guess, last time she really acts like how she normally does.
Yeah.
And they write her as evil Paige.
Well, yeah, that's true. I was going to say the leprechaun hate, but she seems to like the leprechaun, so she is opposite Paige for this episode.
Ain't nothing horrible gonna happen today.
Anyway, so as they're leaving into the elevator, everyone's still frozen, and then that's when she has to save the pregnant mom after Piper unfreezes her and she almost falls over. Mm-hmm. And then she gets into the elevator with Piper, and then she goes, "No wonder Chris grows up to be such a neurotic little freak." This is really like everyone dunking on Chris the episode. And like, Chris sucks anyway, but it's like, you kind of don't blame him for being resentful because everyone's awful to him. Mm-hmm. So Paige is like, "Hey, Piper, are you excited?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, your baby's healthy." It's like, "I know that. He's an adult and he's fine." Who cares? I could see adult him walking around. I knew he was fine.
Something could have come up that you had to take care of in order for him to be fine, you idiot.
Yeah. Who cares? He's fucking idiot. I hate fucking Chris. I was hoping something was wrong.
Apparently you could do something wrong and he had just vanished from existence according to how time works in this episode.
Yeah, but then he would be like, "Hey, I was playing my Xbox and then I disappeared from existence." Yeah. So this is when Chris orbs into the elevator. And Paige is like, "Ugh, this better not be about demons. I'm on a lunch break."
Yeah, holy shit.
Everyone, this is one of the worst episodes in a while that we've reviewed, where it's like them just complaining about having to do other things instead of like saving their own lives. It's not even about saving other people. Everything that happens in this episode has to do with them. Mm-hmm. Like there's a wizard who gets killed at one point, but they don't know about that. Otherwise, it's just them that's in danger, and they can't bother to save their own lives.
Yeah. It's so weird, that wizard plot. Like, they act like, if you pay attention to anything, this wizard was apparently really important to magic, invented 500 plus spells.
Yeah.
And this is like, anyway, he's killed immediately as an aside.
And also, like, they're apparently, according to the lore they established with the Armin Shimmerman wizard, wizards are near extinct and rare and precious, but they drop that plot after they find out his name, basically. No one even, like, they're like, oh, maybe he's dead, and that's the last mention they have of that guy.
Yeah, let's not bother to even confirm that.
Can you imagine if the Charmed Ones were kept in a cave with a demon for 100 years, slowly having their lives sucked away, and then the next heroes are like, maybe we should find this item that they used at the magic school and try and scry for them. We can't find them. Well, maybe they're dead. And then that's the last mention of the Charmed Ones ever.
His name was Wrathmere.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
So yeah, Chris orbs in. Better not be about demons. Piper proceeds to show Paige Chris's dick on her sonogram picture and embarrass him.
She's like, look at how small it is.
Little tiny dick.
Tiny dick, no force fields. Really a loser of a baby.
It's like, if they weren't so horrible in other parts of the episode, it's kind of funny, her, like, embarrassing her grown son from the future with baby stuff. But, like, she's just mean to him in this episode.
Piper's mean to everyone.
That's true. So, Chris is concerned about Piper for some reason. I'm not sure why he's concerned about her. He just has to be there for the plot to happen. So, this is mostly so he can dance around talking about the future. Like, he'll mention things like, well, I can't talk about it. He implies Leo is not around much, won't talk about it, but we all know it's because he fucked it up for no reason. It's because he made Leo become an elder to get him out of the way, and then he's like, oh no, I won't be born if I don't get them together. He caused all of this for some reason. This was part of his plan, and then he's mad about it. But really, he should be mad at himself.
We should be mad at the writers for changing the story.
Whatever the story was intended to be when he was introduced. That was completely different than what they do. But now they have to try and write around all this. Like,
So, I don't know. I guess just Chris is an idiot. Causes his own problems. He goes, why did this happen?
Because, like, if you don't know that context, there's, I guess, something to this episode being a character piece about him confronting a father who was never there for him. There's something there, but the context around it.
There's a few decent bits, but it's kind of undone by the fact that they wrote him to cause this.
Yeah. But anyway, they go into a parking garage, and that's when a sexy lady demon appears out of nowhere.
Naked woman.
She's like, I'm a spider.
She goes, I'm a spider, man.
Wow, you don't look like one. I can turn into one sometimes. A normal little spider, not a big imposing one.
She's just a lady in a slinky dress, and then she, like, can turn into a CGI spider, and she's got some red contact lenses and some fangs, which are noticeably smaller than the fangs they give Chris later. It's like, they're like, she has to have sexier fangs. They don't give us a good close-up of the picture in the Book of Shadows of her, but there's a picture on the wiki, and she's got, like, blue hair, which she doesn't have in the episode. She just got all black on.
Yep.
Inconsistent. But anyway, she appears out of nowhere. Chris pushes Piper out of the way, and then he gets scratched on the neck. Piper tries to blow the spider demon lady up, but then she turns into a CGI spider and skitters away. No one can stop her from skittering away many times in this episode.
And Chris, oh no, I'm turning into her Chris field.
And then Paige is on her lunch break. She didn't do anything.
Yeah. Lunch break, can't help.
So back at home, Paige is researching the demon while Piper tends to Chris's wound.
I would love, though, like, if they did that one of these times, like, I can't, no demon stuff, I'm on lunch break, and Chris was like, okay, well, a little girl's getting murdered right now, but I understand, you're on lunch break. Like,
I don't know, they feel like they basically do that a lot in this show, especially with Phoebe.
Horrible.
While this is happening, Chris asks if Mini-Me is okay inside Piper. Mini-Me's okay.
Right, Mini-Me.
I like that Piper, rightfully points out, it's like, well, you would know, wouldn't you? If you weren't okay. Piper admits that she's wondering about stupid, inferior Chris baby not having a force field like Wyatt did.
Yeah, I used to be able to jump into traffic with Wyatt and be protecting. You're useless.
Yeah, Wyatt could do a force field, and you couldn't. What's up with that? I'm in fucking danger, you useless fetus.
Babies are supposed to have force fields. I hate you.
This is when Chris turns into one of the whiners, like, you had a force field with Wyatt, but not with me?
I was gonna go to Tashi Station, pick up some power converters.
Chris Skywalker, he's the chosen one. Turns out he was Anakin all along. Yeah. Mom, I killed the younglings.
I killed them. I killed all of them.
Wyatt had midichlorians. Why can't you?
Because I hate sand. I don't like sand.
It's so sandy and coarse.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
Anyway, so Paige is like, hey, I found it. You were attacked by a spider demon. It's just called the Spider Demon. More creative naming from Charmed.
Uh-huh.
She is a spider, like the name would imply. She also emerges from her lair every 100 years to feed off of the most magical being it can detect. They assume it's Piper, and Chris is like, me too, right? And then Piper's like,
yeah, whatever. Shut up, it's not you. You didn't even have a force field, you idiots.
So was she sleeping that whole 100 years, or was she...
No, I think she was feeding on the wizard for 100 years and then comes out, because that's how long the wizard lasted her.
So it's like she talked to this guy. Is this her source of companionship too? And this stupid old guy, as he's like, I'm being tortured forever.
Yeah, apparently she just talked to an old wizard for 100 years. Very sad life spider demons have.
Yeah. Very sad, the whole state of this. This guy was apparently very important to magic. He goes missing and everyone goes, ugh.
Yeah, nobody cared. He mysteriously disappeared and no one checked in on it.
No.
So Piper, uncharacteristically, wants to go after this demon. But Paige is like, it's too dangerous with that useless Chris inside you. Chris gets upset about this. And Paige is like, are there no therapists in the future? She's so mean to him, too. She's like, there's no reason for her to be this mean to him.
I don't care about you.
Wait a minute. What about me?
We don't have time to care about you.
Well, Chris is like, all right, we need Phoebe. And Piper's like, no, we're not interrupting your date with Mark. Not Mark.
This is so stupid.
And then Paige is like, no, it's Mike this week. And then Chris is like, it's Mitch, but who fucking cares?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's just, a spider demon that's infected you. We can't interrupt Phoebe's dates.
Yeah, they at this point, they have to know something's up with Chris, because he's been scratched on the neck, he's pale, he's kind of grabbing at it, there's a possibility something could happen. I don't know why the book on the spider demon wouldn't say that, hey, it can infect someone and turn them into a spider demon themselves, or their Renfield, or whatever the fuck he's supposed to be to her. But yeah, they have to protect Phoebe's merry-go-round of dates. They can't interrupt her fucking dates. Even Piper seems to be like, what, she's trying to speedrun this fucking vision thing with speed dating. She even doesn't even seem to think it's that important, but she's like, don't interrupt her. Didn't even remember the name of the guy.
Yeah.
And Paige reminds us about Phoebe's vision. This is obviously the most important thing in the world. And this date talk is interrupted by Chris going like, hey, you think that spider demon poisoned me? Maybe we can have some concern over this. And no one does. He mentions this, but everyone starts puttering around the episode nothing's going on. He's like, oh, maybe I have the flu later. And everyone's like, yeah, all right. And it's like, you're not looking into this spider demon thing?
It's fine, Chris. If you died right now, the baby would die. The baby's fine. No.
Oh, okay.
Just like if she had no idea that time. Like, yeah, the baby's fine, so that means you're fine.
I thought maybe, because it's a possibility they said some stupid shit like that, so...
I mean, time is nonsense in this episode, so they might as well have said that.
Yeah. If I die, I'll never be born. So cut to the spider demon in her lair. She's slinking around sexily. She goes up to this old wizard in some webbing. We know that he's the Rathsmear or whatever the fuck.
Rathsmear. Papsmear.
He's Papsmear. The wizard.
Yeah.
So he's in some webbing, and he's like
very calmly says, "Good
old Papsmear." And he's like, "My misery will soon be over, but I suspect yours is just beginning." And I don't know why you've been there 100 years dying. You think you got some one up on her, dude?
It's not really equal to, and she gets hers. I mean, he's been slowly drained for 100 years. It's very, like, bad torture going on, and the episode kind of glances over how horrifying the implications of that are.
He doesn't even get, like, a moment of silence, nothing, just oh, well, maybe he's dead, and that's it.
Yeah. You kill him off, be like, actually, he was really important, and everyone goes, who cares?
Who cares? Well, she mentions that she found a charmed one that she's going to drain, because, of course, it wasn't about stupid Chris.
No.
And he's like, oh, the charmed ones are too great. You'll never catch one.
I heard those were coming out.
Yeah, were there charmed ones around?
No, he said, like, I heard they were going to come out. Like,
so 100 years ago, they heard about these 3 women who were going to bitch at people and ditch everyone for dates.
Like, they made prototypes, I guess, back in his day, and they were way better. And then, like, once the final product came out, they cut a lot of corners.
Yeah. I don't understand why it was foretold for so long, and then they can't be bothered to get away from dates to do anything. Like, what the fuck?
Is there any way we can get other charmed ones? Sometimes it seems like we can, other times they say absolutely not.
Well, she's like, well, don't worry about it. I'll get the charmed one because I infected their white lighter, and he's going to be my ally. The shame the elders didn't give them a white lighter that didn't suck after Leo went away, and they found out he's half white lighter, can't even heal people. Like,
white lighters are busy being high as shit up in the clouds.
It's just the elders. It's fine.
Yeah.
So then she kills this wizard after 100 years, sucks him dry, he becomes a skeleton.
Mm-hmm. That's the end of that important guy. Oh well.
It's like that in the, I think actually the last one we did was the fairy tale one, not the mirror one. But the fairy tale one, they had the guy in the mirror fairy tale universe who dies and then doesn't come back and nobody gives a fuck. Like, how long was he there protecting these fairy tale things?
Kind of more fairy tale stuff in this one too.
Yeah, that's true. More fairy tale stuff. So at the manor, Chris winces as Piper continues to tend to his wounds. I don't know if she had to get back to it.
But he winces as she punches her stomach. Like, does this hurt, Chris? Does this hurt?
Quit whining, you little bitch.
She does tell him to quit whining.
Yeah.
And then she's like, hey, Paige, go to the club and tell them I'm going to be a little late. No, don't call them. Just go to the club and tell them. And then Chris complains about this, and Piper's like,
I gotta go to work. I booked a band.
But you could have Dennis earlier do stuff for the band.
Dennis is a menace.
And then Chris is like, go get Paige to cover. And she's like,
I have a job too.
And Chris is like, well, this is more important. And Paige is like, nah, my temp jobs are how people who need help find me. Even though she's half white lighter, and they showed the elders ding-a-ling-a-linging in her head or whatever to show people who need her help. So how is the temp job how people find her? It's just for this episode.
It's so astounding that they write these characters that way. Like, why did anyone think this was good? Let's have our heroes whine about it constantly. It's just so stupid.
There's no reason to write it like this.
No, you could have, like, you could feel bad for them if they wrote them more sympathetically. Like, oh yeah, it sucks. They're trying to do something normal once in a while and it gets interrupted. Like, you'd feel bad, but the way they just make them shrew herpes about it constantly.
Yeah, like it just makes them seem so uncaring with no sense of priorities and no sense of self-preservation. Because again, all of the danger in this episode relates to them. It's not even trying to save innocents. They can't even be bothered to save themselves.
Yeah, like Piper's future son is currently dying possibly, and no one can give a shit.
Yeah, like... She's like, oh, I'll have the checkup on this baby, but if adult one dies, who cares?
Yeah, I got a spare. I'll just tell him not to get bit by a spider when he's a kid.
There's no suggestion at all to interrupt Phoebe's date for this. They have jobs, and it's like, well, you still have another sister, but no, she's on that date she doesn't even care about anyway, as we see later.
Well, it's really important because she had some premonition and there'd be some guy, so that means she has to date constantly.
Well, what was the point of making it so her visions were things she had to make happen and not just telling her it's going to happen? Just so she could focus on fucking guys forever. Like, it's just so
sometimes
insulting to think that this is what we want to watch.
It's stupid that she has to make it happen, but other times she gets a premonition. It's like, oh, I have to prevent that. So it's like, so sometimes it's stuff that's going to happen anyway, but in her case, she needs to make it happen because dates.
If it means she can blow off doing Charmed One stuff, it's a thing she has to make happen, and it's more important than anything. But if it's a vision about someone in danger, not that important.
They just have a coin they flip. It's like, in today's episode, Phoebe's too busy to care about the plot because the paper, and this one, dates.
Well, this is past the point where she ever had visions about innocence. It was always about her dates and shit at this point. And even her, other powers are not about anything useful or helping people. She has the power of empathy still. This is the last episode she uses it in, and it's for nothing.
Yeah, she uses it to show how useless she is with that power.
Yeah, because they don't know what to do with this power. So all of the powers that she had, I think she could still levitate at this point, but they just don't use it very much because it's expensive. I just don't... Why?
So made baffling decisions.
So Paige is like, all right, well, how about we call Leo? And Chris and Piper are like, nah, don't do that. And then Paige points out that Leo doesn't even know Piper's pregnant because apparently, and I didn't remember this, Piper is keeping it a secret from Leo that Chris is his son, and they think that this is her business and not his, and she's in the right for doing this.
Yeah, Paige especially sticks up for this decision.
Yeah, they say later, oh, Piper just didn't want to make it harder on Leo because he became an elder and abandoned his family, so they didn't want to add one more son to this.
One more son, it was fine with one son. Two sons. Now I feel bad about it.
Did they think he would never show up again and then wonder why she has two kids and where the other baby came from? Was she supposed to be like,
oh no, I fucked some other guy. It's Fireman Greg's son.
Yeah.
He's half fireman and not
whatever they said before.
Neighbor Dan's. That's an obvious lie. We killed him.
She's horrible for doing this, though. They act like it's, to spare his feelings or something, but it's like, he has a right to know as a father. Just because he's not carrying the kid doesn't mean he's not a parent.
Yeah.
This is terrible. And Paige, constantly being like,
no, it's just Piper's business.
It's like, no, it's not just Piper's business.
No. This seems very opposite, too, with Phoebe being on the side of let's tell him.
Yeah.
This weird opposite.
Well, Phoebe just wants to do it not for Leo's sake, but because she's bad at keeping secrets.
I'm gonna spill it.
Yeah, she just didn't she didn't like keeping the secret.
But you think normally Paige would be on the side of we should tell Leo.
Yeah. Yeah, in a normal episode she probably would be, but it's Phoebe this time.
Yeah.
Leo's been gone for 6 months, so we know that Piper's at least 6 months along. So that's pretty deep into the pregnancy to not tell the guy. All right, so whatever. The plan is for Chris to make a vanquishing potion as he flops sweating and dying over there, while everyone else does their thing. No one else can be fucking bothered. They're like, you work on this and then call us so we can get this vanquishing potion. Chris is next to the first aid kit that was being used on his neck wound that they don't care about anymore. He closes it and then notices his hand sticking to it, but no big deal. Says nothing. Because we got to get to Phoebe's date. She's apparently having this date in the husk of Quake, which is Piper's old restaurant. They use the exterior shot they used to use for Quake. It's some other restaurant now, but they only use the exterior because they don't have the interior set anymore. So.
It's just called Earth now.
Yeah. It's called Eat Dirt.
Dirt. It's good for you. I read it somewhere.
Here was a weird bit of set decoration. So on the tables there are wine glasses with cloth napkins stuffed inside them. And then some potted plants with plants in them, in the pots. But then a lemon also? Why is there a lemon in this pot?
Squeeze some lemon on the plant and eat it. Delicious.
Yeah, do they have to replace those lemons to make it look that bad?
Yep. A lot of work went into making it look that bad.
Apparently, even with everyone constantly covering for her super important dates, even if their lives are in danger, she's still late. She's still late for this date. Her train was late, apparently. I don't know why she didn't just kill everyone and be like, I got a date to get out there.
Get Paige to Arbor.
You know what really happened? She should have been like that. But you know what really happened is Phoebe was too busy putting together a really shitty outfit.
Yeah.
She is dressed in an all beige ensemble, including a shawl and a swim cap looking thing. Mm-hmm. Underneath the shawl is a tank top that reveals her lower back, but not the front, and then some lace underneath it.
The worst fortune teller. Yeah, that's what she was busy with, giving someone their fortune.
That was, I think, a plot they did in season 1 when she was the fuck up and got a bunch of weird jobs. She took a job fortune telling in an I Dream of Jeannie outfit. It was kind of funny then, and now it's just sad.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, that's the last time I take the BART. And then she has, or I ride, I ride BART. And then she's like, oh, I have to say it's the train, not the guy. I wasn't fucking a guy named Bart or whatever, just so you know.
I was fucking a guy named Bort.
Named Bort. My date's also named Bort. So she meets with her date, and Mitch or whoever the hell lies and says she looks amazing.
Yeah.
Why must the show try and gaslight us? And Phoebe calls him Mike. Faux pas.
Whoa.
And he corrects her.
He goes, Mitch, please.
Mitch, please. And then it's Mitch Buchanan.
Yeah.
No one's ever turned me down on a date or... Oh.
What does Mitch know about the charmed ones? Everything, stupid.
Everything.
I fought the occult.
Did you see Baywatch Nights?
No one saw Baywatch Nights.
And then she leaves.
Charmed will never be the same.
See, when she meets Mitch Buchanan, she starts moving too fast, talking about kids and creeping him out. And then he starts talking about kids and creeping her out because he is also...
This is what Phoebe does. This is the love advice columnist. This is her advice to people. Dress like you're a fortune teller and then go, so, about babies. You ready to settle down on the first date?
Oh my god, a bunch of random dates with I'm ready to settle down and have kids. Don't you want a family? And he's like, what the fuck?
This is this great advice columnist who needs to be syndicated to every paper ever. This is the advice she's got for people.
I feel like Mitch dodged the biggest bullet in the world by not getting a second date with her. So she touches his hand to try and get division off of him. And then she's like,
there's nothing. Well, bye.
So awful to him. This is what they had to not interrupt, to save their lives, was Phoebe going like,
whatever.
So as she's leaving, she's just like, oh, we'll see ya. Chris shows up looking like shit. And he's like, hey, we need your help with this potion. And I'm glad that even when they know he might be sick because of this whole scratch and everything, they're still like, we're busy, you go get her. Piper's still there. Paige went to P3 anyway.
Yeah.
And Piper's doing what? She's like, you look like you're actively dying. Go get Phoebe.
I can't be bothered.
And Phoebe's like, hey, why do you look so bad? And he's like, don't worry about it. Piper was attacked. And then she's like, okay. And then asks no further about why he's currently dying.
It's very surprising, though. I mean, it's because her date was going nowhere anyway, but she's very agreeable to leave here.
Yeah, because she waits anyway.
She waits the next scene to start whining about it.
She's like, I'll leave again, and then I'll be like,
I gotta go on another date.
I was very surprised first. I was like, wow, a rare Phoebe W until she turns it into an L.
And then she's like, bye, Mark.
Mitch. I was Mitch.
And then he eats the lemon. I won't let it go to waste. As he's dying behind them, and they're like, we can't be bothered to save him.
And then Hobie pops up, like, I knew this would happen.
Bye, Dad.
I win.
I'm the new leader.
I'm looking for my number one. And Phoebe comes back in. No!
And she's like, hey, you want kids? He's like,
I'm underage. And she's like,
bye! Count you when you're 18.
So as she's leaving, Chris catches a fly in his hand. Again, doesn't say anything. He is turning into a Spider-Man. I guess he's not saying anything. Yeah, Renfield.
Renfield Spider-Man.
I guess maybe he's not saying anything because his mind is being warped or something. I don't know. Yeah. I guess. At P3, Paige is there and not at her temp job. Yeah. So she could abandon it anyway. After all that bitching, she does it anyway. Mm-hmm. And then the temp job calls her and they're like, why didn't you show up? So all that bitching was for nothing.
Like, yeah, but I had to go do my other sister's job.
It's people shuffling things off to other people. That's what the show is for like 3 seasons. It's just, you do this, you do this, you do this.
Oh, I don't have time to do it.
So anyway, her call is interrupted by her mortal enemy, a leprechaun. But this isn't just any leprechaun. This is a tall leprechaun. Yeah. And they've accomplished this by having a close-up of a little person actor, like, to pretend that he's like normal height or an average height. And then, like, they have from behind, like, a stand-in for him. So she doesn't know that this is a leprechaun, despite the fact he's dressed like a leprechaun and speaking in an Irish accent. And so she tries to blow him off. Like, she's on the phone like, yeah, whatever, drunkie. And he's like, no, a witch cursed me to be tall. And then she sees that he's holding a hat in his hand, looks like a leprechaun hat, and that's why she believes him. Like, she didn't believe any of his story until she's like, oh, a hat, a leprechaun wouldn't be holding that in their hand.
No one can get a hold of a hat who's a normal person.
This whole time, there's been this guy working in the background, like 2 feet away, named Jeremy, listening to this whole thing, but no comment on the whole leprechaun exchange.
It's fine.
And then Paige is like, hey, Jeremy, why don't you go check on the beer in the back? I'm not sure what he's checking on. Yep, still there. But he goes. And the leprechaun is like, yeah, I tried to find you at your temp job, but you weren't there. Because this is how it's always worked, remember, audience? As we try to gaslight you into thinking that's how she helped people, was through her temp job? It's like, oh no, all this is bad because she didn't go to her temp job where people needed her.
So Leprechaun knew she'd be at the bar?
Yeah, apparently. Because he's like, I didn't want to interrupt you at home, so I'll interrupt you at your sister's work. That's how I found you. And then she improvises a spell, like, in 2 seconds and turns him normal. Like, she could have done that instantly. And it's like, oh, we had to argue about this forever.
Yeah, all you have to do is rhyme 2 words, apparently. And, like, that's a spell.
She's like, doodle-doodle-doo, turn back small. And then he does. This was so important to make this leprechaun small again. Not saving Chris's life or Piper's life or any of that. She can take the time to make a leprechaun short.
You shouldn't be tall, be small. Wow, amazing Paige.
Wow. And he's like, thanks a lot. Take this shillelagh as a token of my appreciation. And I didn't know how to spell shillelagh, and so in my notes I just wrote it. I know it's wrong, but... Anyway, so after he leaves, Jeremy comes back in and gives Paige a look, and I guess we're supposed to laugh. That's the end of that scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he came back and he's like, all the beer's missing, actually. And he's like, wasted. He starts puking.
You think Jeremy was supposed to be Dennis, though? We were left hanging on the Dennis
Maybe
thing.
they're just trying to expand, like pretend there's people that work at P3
but then they act like no one can take over for her, so why did they do that in the same episode?
They're stupid.
I don't know.
I don't know why he gives her a look. He's like, a shillelagh.
I mean, I guess it's kind of weird. She's holding a little shillelagh.
I don't know, she's just sitting there holding a walking stick from what he would probably think is going on. Like, why would he think that? What?
What?
You can't have that.
And then he reveals he's the Jeremy from the pilot. It's all been like a long con to get back at them for vanquishing him. So anyway, at the manor, Phoebe tries to rush this vanquishing potion thing. She's like,
I got dates, lots and lots of dates.
Shut up.
So she and Piper start to notice maybe Chris, who's got sweat all over him, and he's like gaunt, and he's
melted half into a pile there.
Yeah, he's got long nails and like makeup to make his cheeks all gaunt, and he's sitting there like, and they're like, "Hey, what's up with that?"
It's fine. Just toss him a cracker.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know. I think maybe I'm just coming down with something. And everyone's like, yeah, maybe. It's like, you fucking knew he was killed by a spider demon. Like, come on.
We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
Like, everyone's so dumb in episodes like this.
Yeah.
And Phoebe's like, oh, well, I guess everything's fine.
Listen, I need to find my husband soon, because I did the math, and if I'm going to have a baby and get engaged,
while she drones on for like 2 minutes about inane bullshit. They cut to like a zoned out Chris as he tries to like not pass out. Like, she's like, baby. He's sitting there like, I'm dying. Nobody cares. He's sitting next to his mom, who doesn't give a shit. He's fucking dying over there.
Well, she's like smoking and drinking.
It's
fine. You're fine.
It's good for the baby.
I can see you over there. You're fine.
You wouldn't be dying if you had a force field like your brother.
So, while this is going on, the CGI spider demon, who's a little CGI spider, crawls through the window and then watches this whole thing. Chris sees the spider demon, says nothing. This is when Paige shows up, because they need her to, like, bless this vanquishing potion. And Chris is like, yeah, while they're doing that, Piper, come over to this room, like 5 feet away. And so they go over there, and then the spider demon turns into a big spider lady, and then webs Piper's mouth, which is great, because she can't talk anymore. And for a big chunk of this episode, we won't be hearing from Piper anymore.
Carman move from Spider-Woman.
Yeah. Then she spins her into a big CGI cocoon and then pins that cocoon to the wall. But the other two were just like 5 feet away, so they see all this. They're like, hey. I don't know why they didn't go upstairs or like, they're just like, this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris punches Paige in the face. And then Phoebe kicks him in the face. And then Paige tries to vanquish the spider demon, but no one can stop a slow CGI spider from fleeing. Like, she's like... Apparently the webbing around Piper has a force field, unlike stupid Chris, and it can't be broken. So they can't get in there. Phoebe is like, I locked Chris in the basement. They've subdued him at this point. And they're like, we'll figure out what to do. I don't know what locking Chris in the basement means, because apparently the door is unlocked. He's not chained up, tied up in a magical force field, nothing. He's just lurking around in the basement, turning into a spider.
In there, like quotation marks are on the honor system.
Yeah. Don't you break that door down, Chris.
Yeah.
I guess to his credit, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He just orbs out. They didn't think about that. How can they lock him in there if he can orb out? What the fuck were they doing?
It doesn't make any sense.
They didn't think the half-white lighter would orb out?
The Nexus will get you if you try and leave or something.
I feel like they knocked him out in the middle of this, and that's how they were able to get him in there. Could they not set up I know they've set up things before where they set up some crystals around someone and make a cage.
Yeah.
But they don't do that for him, despite knowing that he can orb.
Uh-huh. They're idiots.
Paige is like, yeah, I can't get into this cocoon. And she mentions all the things she's tried, including knives. So what if she, like, stabbed Piper in the middle of that?
She would have saved the world.
No, credit series finale. I always knew that's how she was going to go out. So Paige again is like, hey, how about we call Leo? And then Phoebe's like,
Piper will kill us!
and that's not an idle threat.
No.
And then Phoebe is like, yeah, Piper doesn't want Leo to know Chris is his son. That's pretty fucked up. And Paige is like, we'll call him anyway. So apparently at this point, Phoebe is pro not telling Leo, but later she's pro telling him.
Yeah, it's weird.
They have to argue against each other no matter, like, depending on the scene, someone's going to take whatever stance is the opposite of the other.
Very coherent episode.
Yeah, so Paige calls him anyway. He appears. Fucking elder Leo. He's got his cheap velvet robe on, the ones that are like the faux velvet beige or whatever, and sneakers. He's acting high as fuck. What's going on here?
It's like smoke follows him as he comes in here. He's like, we're just playing hacky sack up there, man.
It's like no other elder acts like this. Yeah. Why would becoming an elder turn him into a fucking hippie that doesn't know how to, like, do anything?
It's almost like they have to break him out of brainwashing. It's like, not like Q
about?
Or James Avery acted like this when they came down from the clouds.
Q was actively a bastard. He wasn't sitting there like, ooh, let's peace out, man. Like, he's just like, fuck you. We're not saving magic school.
He's like, why don't we just meditate on this, man?
Yeah, whatever. He became hippie Leo. But hippie Leo is more entertaining than elder Leo. He's boring as fuck. And then they're like, we have a problem here. And he's like, what if you meditate? What?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, Piper's in a cocoon there. He doesn't know she's pregnant yet and doesn't notice that Piper in this cocoon looks very pregnant. Like it's the outline around her. She's holding underneath her belly like a pregnant woman. Yeah. But he doesn't notice this.
Nah.
And then he sees this. He's not concerned. Like, they're like, hey, that's Piper over there. And he's like, ah, yes, the spider demon. Let me do my exposition while I smoke my joint.
I can't care about these things anymore, man.
Her ass is grass, and I'm gonna smoke it.
Leo smokes ass.
Yeah, Paige runs in with a sign she just wrote that says Leo smokes ass.
Your ass is grass, and I'm gonna smoke it!
He's like, oh yeah, the only way to get her out is to kill the spider demon. I'm gonna go talk to crazy Chris in the basement. I'll see ya. So he walks out of the room. And then Phoebe now is pro telling Leo. She's like, he has a right to know about his son. And then Paige is like, no, he doesn't. Paige, you asshole.
He doesn't.
I just wrote awful.
Yeah.
So in the basement, again, the honor system, Chris has got to stay in there.
They drew a line in the ground.
Yeah, they're like, don't cross this. He's skulking around in the shadows, turning into a spider. And he comes out of there and he sees Leo and he's like, and like shoots a web at him, calling him a bastard.
Daddy issues!
Yeah. And then Leo's like, and he orbs out. And he's like, wait, meditating didn't help at all. So he orbs out. I wrote, how is Chris locked in? He's not tied up. The door's just open. He can orb. I don't understand any of this. Leo appears upstairs and he's like, Chris attacked me! Even though they just told him he was crazy and attacking people and that's why he was in the basement. Yeah. And he's like, I don't get it. Why would Chris attack us? Why would he attack me? The person he attacked when he first showed up and sent me to Valhalla. This is really uncharacteristic of him.
Who are you, friend, and why are you attacking me?
Fucking, they brainwashed him for sure. He doesn't know shit right now. And so Phoebe's like, I can't keep a secret. Chris is your son. This is how he's told. And then she's like, yeah, it's because he's probably attacking you because daddy issues, even though he attacked everyone.
Yeah.
He has daddy issues, but that's not the main reason why he attacked him. I think it's just because he's evil right now and crazy and turning into a spider. So Leo's like, huh? He's my son? And he's so mad at me, but why? It's because he's turning into a spider demon. He's upset that he wasn't told. And they're like, Piper didn't want to blah, 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 whatever. They fucking suck. Paige is like, I have a call I gotta go by. So she really cared about all of this. So Leo's like, why is Chris mad at me, Phoebe? And she's like, I don't know, daddy issues. Everyone's stupid. So Phoebe, not using her power of empathy, but the power of just looking at someone, is like, yeah, I bet this is kind of overwhelming, but you gotta pull it together because we need you. It's not like you have dates to get to. You gotta pull yourself together. And Leo's like, well, if I remember correctly, the spider demon's last victim was a wizard. So how does he know that this wizard was his last victim when the only information they have on that wizard later is that he mysteriously disappeared in 1904? So apparently they knew that the spider demon had him, but for 100 years did not go and rescue him.
No.
Confusing.
Apparently it's very easy to find these spider dungeons too, because their door is a big pile of webbing.
Yeah, it's just a web over a cave.
Yes, it should have been pretty easy for them to find this.
But where does he remember that her last demon was a wizard? Because the book, like the other guy at the magic school brings him a book with information on who the wizard is and it's like, well, where did he get the info that the wizard was captured by the spider demon? Mm-hmm. Where's he remembering it from? I don't know. He's like, well, I'm going to go to magic school because I think they might have something I can use to scry for this spider demon. But I know in an episode we covered on the podcast, they said scrying was just a witch thing that only witches could do. But now he can do it.
They're not consistent with anything.
Inconsistent!
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
And he's like, well, I think there might be an antidote for Chris in the Book of Shadows. I'm going to presume that the antidote was on the page for the spider demon, so I'm not sure why Phoebe and Paige needed Leo to tell them to look in their book of magic, whatever cures and things.
Yeah, I forgot we had that.
They could have checked that before they got to this point.
Good thing we didn't throw this out.
They needed Leo to say, check the book. I'll go consult the elders. I mean, consult me?
Magic school? Nectar of me?
So in the basement, Chris makes a web so that the spider demon's face can float on it and talk to him.
Very weird because they do a reverse shot where you're seeing through the web and the face is not there.
No. He's got like long claws and fangs and red eyes at this point. And she's like, bring me the cocoon. Meanwhile, Paige is at P3. Because of that call, the witch that cursed that leprechaun has cursed a bunch of other magical creatures, including a wood nymph who she's turned into Pete from 30 Rock.
Funny. He does, he gets a bit of personality in with this 2-minute cameo in this episode.
He really didn't need to try that hard, though. You didn't know what show he was on.
Yeah, it's weird when you see like a bit part on the show where it's someone who tries.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's sad that they thought that Charm deserved that.
Yeah.
So Pete has knocked out Jeremy, poor Jeremy, to prevent the club from being opened until they're fixed. So they're like, we won't interrupt them at home. We'll just go to the club and stop it from opening because we know if we interrupt their work, they'll help us out.
It doesn't matter if we ruin Jeremy's day.
Yeah. Did they use memory powder on Jeremy? How did they get Jeremy to forget he was knocked out by a wood nymph?
Yeah, shoved his face in the powder.
I hope Jeremy quit. So yeah, they have all of these other creatures sitting around. They've been turned into other things that they aren't. And they're like, you know what? Quit complaining, Paige. We got lives to get to, too. Cut to this. Okay, this part of the episode is fucking lazy as shit. This is the laziest fucking thing out of a lazy ass episode to begin with. They cut to a black void with some trees. This is their set. Some dead trees in a black void. And a corny ass Wizard of Oz witch cackling around a cauldron. That's the in a show about witches, they're like, here's some witch face. Some witch face stereotyping going on here.
Yeah.
In a fucking black hat, it's just Wizard of Oz, basically.
It's definitely Wizard of Oz. Though I did wish, this side B plot would have been a plot they tried with and made its own episode.
Did you want a whole episode of this?
I think an episode where a bunch of things are going wrong in the magical world.
I mean, they did do episodes like this, though. I feel like they're just repeating
I just feel
things.
like there is potential for this to have been a funny episode if there was effort put in, but of course there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I didn't mind the spider plot. I just wish it was done differently. But
I just think these things should have been separated. Like Paige made these friends in a previous episode.
It's just a reason for Paige to be busy because they always have to be busy. I don't know why they have to be busy, but they have to be busy because that's the show. Busy the show.
I think they should have focused on the spider one in the spiders episode.
Probably, but they don't because they have to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, here's the lazy ass part of this. It's not even everything I talked about. It's because she's vanquished by an off-screen page at the club. She just reads a vanquishing spell that she just wrote down on a notepad at the club, which makes the witch disappear in her black void.
Yeah.
To what end was this witch doing this? Just to annoy people?
Apparently.
Did she deserve to die for this?
Bother to explain anything.
That's just a person they killed, right?
Yep.
Because witches are just people in there, and they vanquished her ass for being annoying. As an aside, that's the end of that plot.
For all we know, she's just like playing a prank on them. She got murdered.
That would be like if Piper, when she was turning reporters into mice because she was annoyed, someone else vanquished her from off screen.
Someone's like, hey, there's this evil witch doing this thing to people. Oh, we gotta kill her.
At the end. The hell is this? I wrote, what the fuck was that? That was my note.
Yeah, it was so sloppily and lazily done.
Yeah.
Amazingly terrible.
So everyone's back to normal. That plot's done. It does lead into the other plot, but badly.
Uh-huh.
But the witch part of that is done. So at magic school, there's another teacher guy named Sigmund there. We didn't remember him, but we were refreshed as we were watching this. He's the guy who's the sounding board for Gideon, basically, until he kills him because they don't need a sounding board anymore.
Yeah, what they do with every underling in the show, the main villain's like, I'm going to kill you now for some reason.
Yeah, he's basically just like a little toady that he talks to about his plan to get rid of Wyatt, and then when he has a change of heart, he kills him later.
Mm-hmm.
But he's there helping out Leo, who is dressed normally now, so I guess he doesn't have to wear those stupid-ass robes. I guess they're like, he would look dumb in the other scenes, just wearing this robe all the time.
It reeked of weed, so...
There wasn't a video I saw from a convention that had some of the actors at it, where like Brian Krause was making fun of how bad those robes looked, like how cheap and shitty they were. So even he knew they sucked. So Leo has not done anything useful here. Sigmund's like, yeah, I have this book. It says who this wizard is. Here's all the info on him. So he's Rathmere. He created over 500 spells and potions and then disappeared in 1904. They just say he mysteriously disappeared. But again, they know that the spider demon has a wizard.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't know
100 years to save this guy.
Yeah, even if they didn't think it was Rathmere, if they knew a wizard was there and she spends 100 years killing someone, they could have saved him.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No. But how come she was so slow with Rathmere, but it seemed like she was going to eat Piper right away?
I don't know. Because this episode sucks.
Nothing's thought through. It's so poorly done.
See, Rathmere disappeared. They didn't bother looking for him, but they apparently have their wand in their collection at magic school. They're like, we'll keep this wand. We don't care to find Rathmere, but we got his wand.
We got his wand. That's all that matters.
Why don't the Charmed Ones have wands? Is it just a wizard thing? I don't remember Armin Shimmerman having a wand.
They didn't go to the stupid alley to get their wizard wands.
Yeah, they didn't go to Diagon Turf Alley or whatever. So they're like, yeah, we can use the wand to scry or whatever. This is when Gideon shows up because they have to remind you about the overarching plot, even though they're not really doing much with it right now.
Don't forget about me.
Yeah, he's like, I have some lines to say about this.
Who done it?
Yeah, who done it? And he's like, yeah, Sigmund, get out of here. I gotta go scold Leo for abandoning the elders and putting them at risk or something.
I'll walk 2 feet away listening.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just go in the next room and go, huh? Yeah, he's just scolding Leo for abandoning the elders, and he's like, you're putting them at risk. I think maybe he's just trying to get him out of the way to keep him away from Wyatt is why he's doing this.
He's like, Krause is my son! He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, this was news to him.
And Leo takes off, and then Sigmund pops back in, Chris Chris is also his son?
I did like when Gideon hears that his son is in danger and he gets excited, but then he hears it's Chris and he's disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
I thought
wrong
it was
one. Ugh, stupid Chris.
Whatever.
He's not the one with force fields.
Ugh. Who cares? Even the bad guy's dunking on Chris. He's not even important enough for him. He's like, ugh. Stupid Chris.
I do something? Oh, Chris.
Ugh. Yeah, they talk to each other about the overarching plot to fill in some time and remind the audience the end for that. So Leo orbs home, and Chris has become a terrible CGI spider. He skitters in. He didn't even orb out. He skittered out as a spider, so why didn't he orb out?
No.
But he can orb because he orbs later.
He orbs, yeah.
So he didn't even think to do that.
Mm-hmm. He's stupid.
Whatever. Phoebe says something bitchy because she's feeding off of Spider Chris's emotions, not because she's awful. Even though she would probably say stuff like this anyway. But they're like, why are you being so bitchy, Phoebe?
This is the last time she uses empathy?
Yeah, this is the last time she uses her empathy powers to be slightly bitchy because of a CGI spider.
Yeah, she goes, oh, it must be Chris. And you can't read him from the basement.
Huh?
The bottom is on the road. Ah!
Yeah, I hope people enjoyed the last of her empathy powers. It was really cool.
So
anyway.
Yeah, she didn't even use it to get an advantage. It's just they go, wait a minute, we're stupid.
Yeah, and then Chris is like, I've been found out. So he changes back into normal Spider-Man Chris. And then he webs Phoebe and Paige onto the wall. And then Leo's like, I'm going to confront him. And Chris is like, I'll kill you. And then he changes his mind because he's fighting his spider urges or whatever.
What if they accidentally stepped on Chris while he was a spider?
That'd be hilarious. No! So he throws Leo into the stairs and then webs him onto a wall too, and then orbs out with Piper. So he could have orbed this whole time.
Yep.
So apparently Chris can orb out with the cocoon to take it somewhere else, but Paige and Leo can't orb off of the wall?
It doesn't make any sense.
Even if they couldn't orb out of the web, they could orb somewhere else.
Yeah, Phoebe's webbed up too.
Yeah, she's webbed up too.
It's
but she
weird.
Can't orb.
No, but Paige is orbed to the railing, and she should be dangling, but she's just kind of there normally, she's clearly standing on something.
Because Rose McGowan's just standing on something in the close-ups.
Yeah.
In the faraway shots, they've got some sort of harness on her or something.
They do, because she's not dangling there either. She's just kind of I'm normal.
Right, the harness is attached.
Her arms should have tension to them, and she's just there casual.
Yeah, her arms are bent because they've harnessed her higher up.
Yep.
While this is going on, this was another stupid thing. Leo says, damn it. And then we find out that elders aren't allowed to swear.
This is so stupid.
You're talking about elders aren't allowed to swear. I'm sure we probably hear an elder swear at some point other than him.
I mean, Q had to have a potty mouth.
Yeah, Q probably swore. And he's like, yeah, elders aren't allowed to swear, but fathers are. It's like, well, what's going to happen if he swears? Nothing, because he swore and nothing happened. They're just supposed to be like, you be a good little boy and don't swear. Why? Who cares?
Stupid.
They're like, oh, we'll murder the charmed ones if they get together with their white lighter and create an abomination, but swearing, that's too far.
Swearing.
Why are they such fucking wieners in this episode?
They don't want anyone to harsh their mellow, man.
Don't get it. So they figure out that Paige can use the shillelagh to summon the leprechaun. She uses her powers to move the shillelagh and summon him. And he uses his luck powers to set them free. It all comes together. At the spider demon's lair.
Can you help us kill a spider? He goes, no.
No. At the spider demon's lair, Chris and the sexy spider lady are trying to act through big fake teeth. It's harder for Chris because his are bigger, so they're at each other.
This is weird because the spider lady's like, oh, you served me well, I guess, but now I'm gonna eat. And she starts eating Piper and Chris, and then Chris falls to the ground. She's like, oh yeah, it's getting you because you're from the future. It's like, why does she know
How does she know this?
At what point did Spider-Woman find out the backstory on Chris?
Did everyone but Leo know about this?
Yeah, like,
can you imagine? She knows, but
that
then
should
Leo
have been a
doesn't?
line. Like Leo comes in like, the Spider Woman knew and I didn't.
You were over there smoking doobies in Elderland. You fucking deserve what you didn't know. Idiot. So anyway, at the manor.
Wait, who told her? Rathmere? Did he?
But you see, there's a boy for the future. Look, listen, I'm just bored. It's been 100 years, okay? I'll tell you every prophecy I know. So at the manor, Leo is scrying for the wizard with his wand, but he can't find anything. And then Phoebe's like, maybe there's nothing left to find. Maybe he's dead. And that's the end of that. They don't find him. They don't mention anything else. No one cares that he's dead.
Oh, well.
There was no reason for this plot element to be here.
No.
So he's not concerned about this wizard. He's just sad that Chris is mad at him. And then he's like, wait a minute, why am I not just scrying for Piper instead of the stupid dead wizard? And then scries for Piper and immediately finds them. Could have done this the whole time.
I don't know why, like, this show is so opposed to them ever being heroic. Like, they could have had someone that the spider head is someone they save, and there's someone that helps them later on in the episode. But instead, they're just like, nah, they never do anything useful. They don't save anyone.
No.
Like, why?
They have to write them to suck as much as possible.
Oh, no! We suck again!
During this, they recruit the fairy tale creatures that Paige helped, so they're there to help. They all head over to the lair, which again is just a cave with some webbing over it. I don't know, for 100 years no one found this or could get in. So they can't bust through this magical web. So they get the ogre to like knock on the wall and
the ogre
annoy
is
the
just
spider
kind of
demon.
a tall guy.
Yeah, he's just kind of a tall guy. He's been in other episodes too. I think some of the other ones have, because I remember them at the end of like season 7. They've had like that ogre and some other fairy tale creatures. It's the same actor.
Right.
But anyway, the plan is for him to knock on the cave wall and annoy her into coming out, which works.
Yeah.
She comes out and she's like, quit annoying me. And then the fairy flies in her face. And then
this is the great plan,
and then they
too.
kick her, and that doesn't do anything. And it's like, why was that the plan? To just kick her after the fairy annoys her?
That was the big plan. That was like, no! Fairy in her face. Ah!
Yeah, and then kick. And that didn't do anything. And then she's like, haha, but nothing will stop me from turning into a CGI spider and skittering away. And then they're like, just step on her. And then the ogre steps on her and she dies. That's the end of her.
Yeah, that was also lame. Like, they're just like, let's have lame endings to all our villains in this.
Yeah, pretty lame.
Not
It's
quite
like
as lame as the Wicked Witch of the Idiots. But...
Yeah, they could have acted like it was a little more of a thing to get rid of her, because it was such a build up to this to just be like,
yeah, pathetic.
So they're like, well, that makes the webbing disappear because she died. So we got to go into the cave and give the antidote to Chris. And Leo's like, I'll do it. He's my dog. And he grabs the shotgun.
It makes the door webbing disappear, but not all the rest of the webbing inside the cave. So also very inconsistent.
Yeah, just the webbing on the cave door and around Piper disappear. I guess that was normal spider webbing and not magical spider webbing.
Was Leo supposed to have freed her in between those shots, or?
I don't know. She's just already out, and then he dies. I don't think
she didn't want to be in the stuff. So
I don't. Yeah. Well, I think they were minimizing Holly Marie Combs' appearances at this point because of she goes like on maternity leave basically at the end of this episode.
I think they implied he was going to free her, but I don't know. For sure.
Well, he said he was going to give the antidote to Chris. That's why he went in there. But I guess as he's there, Piper is free. Either he did it or the webbing disappeared. I don't know. Leo orbs her outside, goes to confront Spider Son. And Spider Chris still has daddy issues. So he beats the shit out of Leo.
Daddy issues!
Yeah. He beats the shit out of Leo. It's pretty satisfying.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Leo deserves it this episode. He sucks. Yeah, because I missed the part where that's my problem. Yeah, and then he like gets his hair out of his face, his emo cut.
Yeah. Spider emo.
Yeah, he goes like, now dig on this.
Stings, doesn't
it? Little Daddy Jr. gonna cry. So anyway, he beats the shit out of Leo, and then Piper's outside. She bitches at them for bringing Leo into this. At no point do we get a scene where they're like, yeah, he knows about Chris being his son now, and then she gets mad about it. Like, they don't have any lines from her about this, which is weird considering how much of a big deal they made it. I expected
the blow up because he mentions that he knows that as he orbs her out, and I thought she was going to yell at the other sisters about that. But
she doesn't say anything about it, which is weird because she was the whole reason they didn't want it. Like, the whole argument happened because it's like Piper doesn't want this, and then she has nothing to say about it.
No,
but anyway,
she's pregnant. She just doesn't know.
And Combs is like, just
write me out already.
And so she's like,
I had to bring Leo into this.
And then they're like, hey, what if you just take the antidote, and then the baby Chris will have the antidote, and then adult Chris will be turned back. And then they're like, yeah, and then she takes it, and it's like, well, you were pointing out, doesn't that create a time paradox?
Yeah, it's a paradox.
Doesn't that mean he never became a spider?
Yeah, but in the way this episode acts, like it just auto changes time as it's flowing, so he just turns back to normal. But it would be a paradox because she only took it because he was turned into that, which would mean that he would never be turned into that, so she wouldn't take it, and then you go in a little circle there.
Then he was playing Xbox, and then his powers went away, and then he's like, why'd that happen?
Time is so stupid and charmed.
But that's what turns it back to normal. But even though he's normal, he still continues to beat the shit out of Leo because he's mad at him. Piper breaks them up. That scene's over. Now we must have a scene of her and Leo talking about plot stuff at magic school, because he's got to be like, you go off and have your maternity leave. Get out of here with Wyatt. And he's like, I'll stay with my family now because whatever. I guess I could have done this the whole time. Also, Chris sucks. And then Gideon slinks in to look evil to remind you that plot's still happening. And then we get a musical guest cameo at P3.
Whoa.
Phoebe is on a date. Again, with a lineless extra.
And they go,
ain't hot, it's so hot.
Yeah, she tactlessly abandons him to go talk to Paige, and then they're like, yeah, he's hot, I guess. Paige is working the bar. She could have done this the whole time. She's serving the fairy tale creatures. I guess she could have abandoned her temp jobs after all. Whatever.
Nothing mattered.
But we have yet another denouement. They just keep going to ending to ending to ending.
Yeah.
Cut to Chris brooding on the Golden Gate Bridge set, because that's a set they have and they have to use it. Leo orbs in. He's like, let's have a chat.
Want to talk about it, Champy?
You want to talk about it, Champ? And he's like, you thought you were here to save Wyatt, but what if you were here to save us?
Like, no, I just caused all the problems between us.
Yeah, he's like, doubt it. And then it orbs out. And that's the end of the episode. Well, Phelan, what did you think of this episode?
What a mess. They screwed up two plots that could have both been something interesting. They didn't give enough weight to anything. Then they made both the villains suck and were easily defeated.
Yep.
And the sisters were at their suckiest.
All of the things that they do to fix it is like a 2-second, like, wait a minute, I could have done this the whole time. Done. Like, wait a minute, we'll squish the spider. Wait a minute, we'll take the antidote. Wait a minute, I could have scried for Piper.
Paige will throw a page at the witch. I did.
Yeah. I thought there was like a seed of an idea in this episode. There are some parts of it that I think would be effective isolated. But yeah, I think Charmed was kind of undone by how they handled the overarching plot altogether. Like, I feel like if you ignore how the storyline started and a lot of the stuff around it, there's kind of a thought here to do like a character piece, especially with Chris, who kind of needed something like that because his character wasn't really done that well. But the characters all act horrible, and then the stuff with Paige is just busy work, and it's fucking Phoebe with the dates. I mean, everyone just kind of doing a bunch of pointless stuff, and then Piper is written out partway through because Holly Marie Combs has got reduced roles. So it's like, what are we watching and who and why?
Yeah, I wish the Leo and Chris stuff came together a bit better because it's almost something.
Because it's only like episode by episode as to how they feel about each other, because it just feels like throughout the season it's just been off and on whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it is funny to see Chris become a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. So I don't know, do you fall on it being a bad episode? A good episode?
That's bad.
I think it's just missed potential. But as far as like a creature feature, like it's something. He didn't turn into something sexy like the girls do, so...
Yeah,
something.
But they bungled it too much.
All right, well, do you have a Margoyle or a Carman, Phelan?
It's like so many people could be the Margoyle in this one. It's like Phoebe, honorable mention. That wicked witch of the bullshit, honorable mention. She didn't do enough to get the Margoyle. I'm going to give it to Paige because I was the most disappointed in her, because she's usually not like the other two doing what she did in this episode, complaining about everything, and then the whole let's not tell Leo, even though she's like, let's call Leo. She's very inconsistent. Mad at Paige.
I could tell.
Yeah. Carman's gonna go to Pete from 30 Rock. Gave a little bit of life to a random character. It's like you usually don't get that at a Charmed, like, oh, they got someone who could do something with this kind of nothing role, but it was a little funny.
Mm.
It's like, oh, look, Pete from 30 Rock. It's like when I saw him in that old Ken Griffey Jr. for 64 commercial. Oh, Pete from 30 Rock.
Like, I have a name. Sure, Pete from 30 Rock.
Pete from 30 Rock. Carry your real name, Scott Adsit. You have a Carman and Margoyle.
All right. Well, my Margoyle is going to be that witch that got killed by off-screen Paige. I don't think we've ever seen someone just vanquish someone from off-screen like that, at least not in this way. It's so lazy. And it's like, she was a person that they just murdered, and no one cared. That's even more of a loser than that wizard that no one rescued for 100 years. So I'm going to say it's that witch, because it was really sad.
There's a bunch of people that are sort of people that they kill in this show and don't really acknowledge
But it's like
it.
they're witches too, so I don't know. Who's a Carman? I don't even know who'd qualify as a Carman in this episode. I didn't think of one, because maybe the Carman is Mitch for getting out early. He escaped a Phoebe date unscathed. I guess that's what I'm going with. There's not a lot of heroes in this one.
No.
Well, I think that's the end of the podcast. If you guys liked this episode, we'd appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, or reviewed wherever you're enjoying this podcast. You can find us in audio form wherever podcasts are enjoyed, or on YouTube under youtube.com/Movie Nights the series. You can find Phelan's stuff under youtube.com/Phelis. You can also support our stuff on Patreon. See episodes early or vote for things. On mine, you can vote for episodes of Charmed Rewind, which episodes we're going to cover, and lots of other stuff. Mine is patreon.com/Movie Nights. Phelan's is patreon.com/Phelis. Thanks to Peter Hunter for editing the podcast for us and for creating the awesome theme song. You can find him at Pretor Hunter on YouTube and on Twitter. And he does lots of funny, cool stuff, so you should check it out. What hashtag should we use, Phelan?
Hashtag Pete from 30 Rock.
Hashtag no heroes.
Hashtag lame witch.
Hashtag I missed the part where that was my... wait, what's the quote? I missed the part where that's my problem? Hashtag I missed the part where that's my problem. Hashtag put some dirt in your eye. All right, that's it. We'll see you Charmanders next time. Bye.